The FIFA 22 market is at an all-time low and things are only going to continue going down. Over the next couple of months, depending on the position you're in, this will either be a good thing or a bad thing. So you know exactly where you stand. We will be explaining everything within this video. But before we do get into the video, if you're looking to get some very easy coins, then there is no better place than Mule Factory. Head over there to get yourself some cheap, fast FIFA coins, completely reliable, and if you use Fnatic 5 at checkout, you'll also get yourself a 5% discount. Link can be found in the description down below. And getting back into the video, it's no surprise that the market is down, but for most people, they don't understand why, and they don't understand what's going to happen over the next couple months. So hopefully this video will give you a better understanding. The first major factor is the team of the season sell-off before team of the season, and of course the pack openings that were happening during. The team of the season crash didn't start when team of the season was released. It in fact started towards the end of February, beginning of March. This is when content creators and influencers started to let their audience know about how they're starting to prepare. They sold off all of their expensive players, bought into a few investments, and just held on to them. That was the point in which their audience also did the exact same thing to sell off their more expensive players, and that's why if you went to go and look at sites such as Footspin, which is a database including all FIFA 22 players, and it tracks their prices across different times of the year, you would see going all the way back to February and March, that's when all of a sudden players plummeted. There's always a downward trend with players from the moment they're released all the way to the end of FIFA 22. You can definitely see that during this period, it increased because of the amount of people that were selling their players. During team of the season, we also saw a decline. This was where people saved their packs for months, trying to save hundreds of packs in hopes that they could open them during team of the season to get a team of the season player. And for those that didn't save packs, well, they did go and use money to buy into FIFA points to buy packs. So once team of the season finally arrived, we still saw a downward trend with the market because of the amount of people opening packs in hopes to get these players. Once they got those players, they instantly listed them onto the transfer market. This really forced the player prices down. Now that team of the season is over, and this brings us on to our second point, we can start to see that the supply is also down quite considerably. Back in October of 2021, when FIFA 22 was first released, live transfers off-peak, this is off-peak hours, was over 2 million and would go up to 2.6, 2.7 million during peak times. This is 6 PM UK time. And just before the release of team of the season, this was around 1 million and then did go up to around 1.5, 1.6 million for the first couple team of the seasons that were released. Yet again, this is during peak times. Now that team of the season is over, we're looking at FIFA during peak times and we're down to 400,000. All of this is on Xbox. Depending on the platform that you're on, whether it be PC or PlayStation, this will vary, but you would still see a similar result of there being a huge amount of live transfers right at the beginning of the year. It will then continue to go down, peak again during team of the season, only for it to drop off quite considerably after team of the season is done. Team of the season is great because it does include the best players of the year getting boosted cards, and this does bring a lot of players back, but just as quickly as it brings players back, they also quickly walk away and are finished with FIFA. And having less supply in the market wouldn't be an issue unless the third point, which is if demand goes down. If the demand stayed exactly the same, you would actually see an increase in player prices, but that's not the case because of all the players that do get released. And you may think that this would link into supply, but it actually comes down to demand. Let's say that you are looking to find a right winger within the Premier League back in October. The only good options you would have are Salah, Sancho, Mahrez, and Ziyech. And depending what you wanted to do would depend on what type of player you go for. For me, I wasn't a massive fan of Salah being a right wing, but I loved him as a striker. I also didn't want Sancho as a right wing. I would much rather have him as a cam. And depending on how many coins I would have at the time would also depend on which type of player I would go for, because these players were expensive at the time of FIFA. Salah was around 700k for the first couple of weeks and then went down to around 350k for another couple months. And because these were the only good Premier League players within this position, you had to go for them. But as time has gone on, there's been loads of different promos. If you go onto Footbin, select right wing, right forward, and also right mid, you can find all the different players that are in that position for the Premier League. And there's so many available, so many players which are a lot better than what we had back in October, which I know is obvious, but it does mean now you have more of an option. So for one single player, there isn't as much demand as what there was before. You could still go for Salah, who's now worth 20 to 30k, or you can look at more expensive players, higher rated players, the special cards that belonged as part of promos for still a fraction of the price of what Salah's price was at the beginning of the year. Another way to look at demand is from people themselves. People aren't as bothered with FIFA 22 because now we're approaching a point where we hear rumors and leaks about FIFA 23, and we're very close to hearing confirmed information from EA themselves. The FIFA 23 hype is just beginning. July is where we'll start to have a number of different events, trailers get released. August is when we'll have even more events with a closed beta being announced for certain players to be invited. September will quickly roll around where content creators are invited to record content before the official release. And then finally in late September, early October, that's when we go through the whole process of FIFA 23 actually being pushed to the public. For a lot of people that was playing FIFA 22 during Team of the Season, they no longer see the point. They're going to take the time to play other games, do other things, whilst they wait for more information about FIFA 23, where they'll hop on the game at the beginning of the year once all of that is pushed. So the demand for FIFA 22 in general is low, incredibly low. And this brings us on to what's going to happen next. Well, between now and the end of FIFA 22, the market will continue to go down. Just because Team of the Season is over doesn't mean that it is the final promo, and we have already seen that with the Shapeshifter cards. And this Shapeshifter cards promo is actually pretty good. There's quite a few players which are still extinct, which really shows the demand for these players rather than anyone else that's currently within the game. This time last year, we had Euro 2021, Footies, Festival of Foot, and Summer Heat. Now, of course, not every single one of them can happen again this year, but we can see some, such as Footies, and for those that aren't going to be there, such as the Euros, well, we definitely can have another promo within the place, and in this case, of course, we now know it is the Shapeshifters promo. So a good indication of what's going to happen with the FIFA 22 market is actually using Footbin to look at player prices from FIFA 21, seeing what happened to them, and you will notice the downward trend. It's not as harsh as what we had with the Team of the Season sell-off back in February and March, but it will be a constant decline in player prices. Within a market like this, you can still trade. I'm still able to trade and go through a lot of the trading methods that I have shown here on this channel. The only thing that I'm not doing as much is investing. Investing will work, but at this point, you're not going to make an insane amount of deals because you just don't have the time. Look back at the first couple of Team of the Weeks where I recorded a number of videos telling you to buy into these players. These players at the time were listed for 10, 15k each, and you could get them even cheaper on a bid. And now they're around 50k as a lot of them are extinct. This is because time has passed, and in that time, people bought those players, quick sold them, used them for SBCs, kept them in their club, and stopped playing FIFA. They just became rarer and rarer over time, which did force their price to go up. Now, when investing, you do still have the ability to see a gradual increase, but it's just not going to be as much. You can buy a player for 10 to 15k, and you may be able to sell them for 15 to 20k by the end of FIFA 22. You also need to ask yourself, why are you investing at this point? What are you doing it for? Because if it is just to go and get as many coins as possible, there's really no point because you're not really going to be able to use that much by the end of FIFA 22. It goes to FIFA 23 when nothing transfers apart from any FIFA points that you have within the club that you haven't used already. I recommend taking the time to use the coins that you currently have, and by all means continue to trade and push to the players that you want to play for. The good thing is that if you are trying your best to trade, you can continuously increase your coin balance, but at the exact same time, as the whole point of this video, players are continuously going down. So eventually you'll meet right in the middle with player prices going down and you increasing your coin balance to buy that player. But anyway guys, this is exactly what's going to happen over the next couple months of FIFA 22. If you do have any questions about anything, then please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. But anyway guys, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. But for now, I'm going to see ya.